In this video, I'll be showing you how to use for loop in Microsoft Copilot Studio while building an agent. Now, for loop is basically used to iterate through some of the contents within a record set. So the basic input you would require is a record. So an object of type record is required for you to iterate through the content. Now the scenario would be like, say, take for example, if you have a data set which you might have retrieved from an external source or from, say, Dataverse table, and you may have used Power Automate. Now Power Automate will give you a JSON kind of a response. Now if you want to parse through that response, you can use for loop. Now, in the for loop, there is a concept of index, and you can also iterate objects within the for loop. There are other actions which you can perform is you can skip through the for loop sequence items, and also you can end the for loop. Now I'm just going to show you in one of the examples which I have created. So let me go into Copilot Studio. So these are the set of agents which I've already created. So let me pick up any one agent. So maybe let me pick up, say, Gen Orc agent. Now this is a simple agent. I haven't put any instructions in it. Let me see if I have any topic. Now here I have a couple of topic over here. Maybe I'll just turn off the topic which I have created. So this is how you can turn off the topic which you don't want. So I'm just turning off doc in OneDrive, Convo, and if there are any other topic which you have created, I'll just turn it off. Now, just to start fresh, what I'm going to do is first I will go add a topic. Now we need to iterate through some content. Now for that we would require a content. So I've created a topic over here. Let me call this as for loop iteration. And here, if you want to trigger this topic, I'll just say trigger this topic when someone types loop. So if someone types loop, I want this topic to be triggered. Now, in order to iterate through the for loop, we would require some data. So I have already created a data set over here. So as you see, this is a simple JSON file. Now here in the JSON file, you can see that uh, there is an items object, and within items there is an array of items. Now within an array you will see one object, second object, and then many objects over here, like there are around 10 objects. Now what the object contains is country and how many golds, silver, and bronze that country has won. Now this is my example. Now you can come up with your own example, and then you can iterate through that array object. But make sure that you have something to retrieve within the for loop. Now here I have an items object. Now let me copy this object. Now I have an option directly to copy it, or maybe I can do a minified version of it. Now I've already installed an extension so that I can, just by pressing Alt M, I can minify this. You need not do that, but it's always better to check your data source, because we are going to paste this in a variable, right? Now let's go into, let me copy this first, and over here, let me first go to variable management and set a variable value. So if you set a variable value, and here I set a variable. Now let me create a new variable. So create new, and this one I will name it as var array, and in to value I will just paste the value which I have copied. Now this is my string of content. Now this string of content which I have named as var array, and I have just copy pasted the JSON which I have got from the data source. Now this data source can be anything, like you can retrieve it from Power Automate, or you can call it a third party service, and this is your data set. Now how do you want to iterate that? You just click on add node, and then from here you will have various options. So if you go into, say, uh, different sections, like you get advanced, you get an added tool, you have topic management, you have variable management, and then in variable management, in list management, you have an option to loop through the list. So you can loop through a list. Now if I click on loop through a list, now if you see over here, in order to loop through a list you need a record object. So you cannot directly use this var array which is of type string. Now in order to loop through the list, this is how the interface will look like. So you need to write the logic over here. This is that looping mechanism through which you will say which object I want to loop through, and then what is a loop variable, and then you will consume that loop variable along with the properties within uh, the loop area. Now, what we're going to do is if I go into the code over here, let me format this document. Now, what I want is first I will give this input to the loop variable. Say I want to iterate through this, and I have different objects. So this is object one, object two, object three. Now, this is what I'm going to give it to the loop variable. And within the loop variable, I will then extract country, gold, silver, bronze, whatever I would require. So for that, I will first need to get a record out of it. So for that, let's do an extra action. So add a node over here and then go to variable management, and then you will see something called as a parse value. So you get a lot of other thing. You have a list management, but we will extract the value through parsing method. So parse value. Now here I need to give this var array as an input to pass value. So let me select var array, and now in the data type, now what data type this particular JSON is. Now I don't think so. This a proper string. It is a record table. Now it is not a proper record. I need to format this particular variable as a record. So for that, I will just say pick up from sample data, get schema from sample JSON. Click here, paste the data, whatever data I had, so that the system derives the data set from here. Click on confirm, and then save as. You need to save it as a variable. So I will create another variable, and I'll create a new variable. And now as you see, it has automatically detected that yes, this can be treated as a record. So if I click on var1, I will name it as var record. So I got a record now. Now depending on the scenario, you can either make it as a topic variable or a global variable, but for time being I'll just keep it topic because I'm just using one topic. Now yes, so what we have done, we have set a variable value, we have did the parsing, and now let's go over here, loop through a list, pick up this value var record. Now var record, as you see, var record is of type record. So var record, and the loop value variable. So if you see over here, if I select this as a var record, it says variable is being set to an incorrect type. So technically, the looping happens through something called as a table. Now, if you see for a var record, there are two items. There is a record and then there is a table. Now, if I select record, it doesn't like that because it cannot iterate through its record. It needs something like a table so that through the table we can iterate. So this is a wrong selection. So let me go ahead and remove the selection. So I will click over here, and now instead of that I will pick up where record dot items. Now why it has come items, because in the JSON we have this items, right? Now let's go to where record dot items. Now if you see, it has accepted it. Now loop value variable, it will automatically pick this as a record. So now we are going to iterate through the record in the for loop. So this is a correct syntax. Now whatever logic you want to put over here, I will just say send a message, and I'll say country. So I will pick up the country name. Now country name, which country has won what gold. Now that can come as an outside loop so that you display all the country details before even looping through the list. And you can specify what medal that country has won. So if I pick up country over here, insert variable, now the loop value 1. So if you see loop value 1, I have this loop value 1 as a record, as a bronze value, as a country value. So if I pick up country value, and I will say gold, silver, and bronze. So pick up gold, so loop value 1 dot gold, If it doesn't select after first selection, click again, and then it should select it. So same with silver. If I go over here, loop value 1 dot silver and bronze, and we have got gold, silver, bronze, and the country name. Now this is the first record. Now there is another object which you can see, that is called as an index. So which index are we talking about? So if I just say index, and I will say loop value 1, so we have loop index 1. So this is that number. Okay, so let's pick up loop index 1. So click on save, and now this is our for loop. So this is how you basically use for loop in Copilot Studio while building an agent. So let me trigger this topic. So if I type in loop, it will iterate through the data set, and if the syntax is correct, it will give you the correct result out. And now as you see, it has given me the correct looping output. So the first item was for index 0, country United States, gold 39, silver 41, bronze 33. Then we have index number 1, China, Great Britain, and then so on and so forth. So this is how you can iterate through the content using for loop. Now, remember, your data set needs to be in a proper format. Now, as I had this format in an array format, I was able to extract the property. Now, you can have multiple properties over here, uh, depending on the complexity of this. Now, if you have a data set which is much more complex, like say for country United States, gold 39. Now, if you have a data set which again further explains where that gold has won, like for which event, that also you can extract using the for loop component. Now depending on how deep the structure is, you need to properly structure the variable which we have created, remember, in the first instance. So first we just copied the string over here, so this is just like a simple string, but then over here we have passed the record set, and then from there we got a record, and then in the looping item we have taken that record set and then passed it over here in the looping loop through a list. So that's it, folks. This is how you can use for loop in Microsoft Copilot Studio. Thanks for watching.